weapons, vehicle armor, and ship weapons at the same time, which are the three upgrades that you really need while you're going mech. He's making, actually, it looks like he might go Sky Terran, basically just judging by the amount of starports that he's added on. So maybe for the 2 ship upgrades and 1 mech upgrade, but regardless, three armories being added on. Gen knows that he has a little bit of a lead after defending that early Marine tank push. And what I have to say for Kazi is that his attack was just too late. When his opponent had up those 5 siege, that's just too much to try and attack into with only Marine tank. Gen did just gain the 3rd base, so he knows it's there. Looks like Kazi a little bit worried that his opponent's going to be headed that way and moving his army down there. If we look just at the map vision right now, Gen has control of his entire half of the map. That's what you want in mech. You want your half, and you just trade effectively the entire game. Kazi, meanwhile, forced back in his own base. This is not what you want with Bio. You want a very Zerg-looking mini-map for you. You want vision everywhere. You want to know exactly what your opponent's up to, where his siege tanks are. You can start trying to counterattack and drop and do all those sorts of fantastical things. I have to say, Kazi being very, very patient. He's just adding on more barracks, adding on more factories. So he's got 3 factories, which is actually pretty good to try and keep up. He will eventually be overtaken in terms of just pure production. You see 3 starports. Actually, there's 4. I don't see it. There's the 4th one. 4 starports, all with reactors. He's going to make 8 Vikings at a time, and his air fleet is going to be ridiculous. I'd love to see him throw in a Banshee, some Ravens, just something that can actually attack ground units. Same time, being in his position, it looks like he does want to drop. And if we look, there's the dot on the minimap scanned out by Gen, and Kazi going to have to drop. Looks like he wants to target down the sensor. I don't blame him. Those things telegraph your movements so well. And the air army back to respond. He'll just shoot down the medevac. He's going to lose a couple of these Vikings to these Marines. And now stimming in, he wants to get on a couple of these SCVs. Going to be able to get a couple. Not too many. Looks like 2 so far. 3, 4, 5. Not too bad, actually. 6 workers killed. And 2 Vikings, I believe, as well. So starting to trade a little bit more favorably. This is what you want to see from your Biowing players. Starting to take more and more command centers. And our mech player, of course, doing the same thing, which is kind of weird. It looks like my internet hiccuped there. I'm actually going to pause and make sure everybody's with me. Everybody's here. Okay. So it looks like we had a little bit of a hiccup. Nothing too major. Just let me check the chat here. Okay. So it looks like we had a little bit of a hiccup. Nothing too bad. Hopefully, I mean, that cut this game in half, obviously, but yeah, nothing more than that. Gen making a couple more orbital commands down here in the lower right-hand spot, and we do see the bio units going to go to intercept. There's a 3rd sensor tower over here now, and this is, you know, telegraphed, of course, by the sensor tower. So he'll move in. There's the stim and the scan up from Gen, and this is not the worst thing for Kazi. He's going to trade away these Marines very effectively. Kills an orbital command, kills a couple of mules, and he may even be able to get this command center. Yeah, look at that. Bam! And trading away all these Marines isn't too bad. We see he's maxed out. His opponent at 153 supply. This is bothering me. What is going on? Everybody's still here. Weird. Weird. So I've actually gone on and offline like 4 or 5 times during this, apparently. I hope that this stream is okay. That's all I have to say. Siege tanks sitting up in the, now actually forced to, Kazi's actually forced his opponent into a little bit better of a position with his tanks. He can sacrifice these Marines for basically whatever. They're not doing a whole lot for him right now. He needs a lot more power units. He needs Marauders, siege tanks. We see he's maxed out again and starting to try and set up a little bit of a flank of his opponent. It looks like he wants to try and bypass the sensor tower, but he's not going to be able to. Gen very map aware. And they're getting into a good siege spot as Kazi. And there's no medevacs here, another problem. Viking on Viking action will go in favor of Gen. He's got such superior Viking count. 18 to 7 in fact, and he's got +1 upgrades anyway with +2 on the way. There's the stim in from Kazi. He's losing a lot here. These Marines though could stim in and do some damage. This big battle in the middle of the map, it looks like Gen's going to start overrunning. There's a lot of siege tanks though, and these Marines doing quite a bit of damage. Again, there's nothing really to shoot these Vikings though, unfortunately, and Kazi can't quite seem to decide what to do. These Marines still here, still haven't done anything, which is kind of interesting. I would have loved to see them try and come in on a little bit of a flank, maybe catch a couple of these siege tanks. It does look like he's just going to take down a couple more buildings back here. There goes the sensor tower, and now an orbital command floating from the main over to that location to try and take his opponent's base. We do see a couple of planetaries in the middle of the map for Kazi, just to try and set himself up with a little bit of a siege area, and this is going to be a really long game. Both players maxed out, not in any hurry to do anything. If we actually look at the armies, 16 Vikings to 2, but 15 siege to 15, 37 Marines to 8, 12 Marauders to 0, and 25 Hellions to 0. Gen's sitting on basically the ideal amount of stuff. Kazi now going to stim in. He's going to lose all of these. Looks like they were just A moves, so he's trying to take down this orbital, but that supply basically needed to be sacrificed. He really shouldn't rebuild Marines at this point. They're not going to be the most useful units for him. I'd love to see a sudden transition into Sky Terran. He'd need to somehow overpower his opponent's Viking count. But if he shows up with a couple of battle cruisers, actually Gen just doing a fantastic job. He'll be up to 3-3 on his mech, 3-3 on his air units very, very soon. He even manages to spot this expansion down here. Kazi trying to use his Viking. That's not going to work. And this command center not going to live for too much longer. Hellions, meanwhile, trying to run by. He can actually throw siege tanks. Wow. That's a pretty impressive amount of Hellions. And headed into the mineral line, taking down a bunch of these SCVs, and Kazi just kind of getting slowly choked to death, it looks like. 11 workers killed now to 19. They're getting any roasts. Oh, so many more. I sounded like Artosis. I'm going to ruin Artosis for you guys. He says, oh, so many. A lot. Now you're going to listen for that. So, you're welcome. 34 workers killed now to 11. If we look, I'm trying to look at the units tab. 53 SCVs to 56 though. So that's still pretty even. We see both players starting to bank up resources. Now the tanks move across the map from Gen. A couple of them do get taken down there. But now getting into a little bit better position. Does need to scan and try and take some of those out. All the Vikings though coming in. Bio from NiNKasi trying to do something. He does stim to regather with all of his units, and this is a really nice siege spot for Gen. It's going to be very difficult to flank unless all of the units are able to surpass these Vikings. Looks like Gen actually going to get this command center as well. The real advantage, I guess, for Kazi right now is these two planetaries sitting in the middle of the map. But again, these will be 3-3 upgraded vehicles very soon. And 3-0 on the Vikings as well. To only 1-0 Marines. He's trying to land his Vikings on top of these siege tanks. That doesn't really work, but it does draw tank fire, and now the bio units come in and stim in. Kazi's actually broken through this little group of siege tanks, and he trails so much in supply. There's no medevacs trying to heal up these hurt units, and now we're running into the problem, both players starting to mine out a little bit. Come the Vikings in, going to drop in, and should be able to take out at least something, and he can still fly away if he needs to. I'm just setting myself to busy. There we go. Takes out the factory, taking out a couple of these depots. This is going to be a real annoyance to Kazi. Now taking out the reactor, taking out the starport as well. A couple of Vikings just flying over, supervising the battle, it looks like. And now the bio units trying to return home. We don't see any action from the main army, and Everything should be able to get out of there. He will take down a Viking for his trouble. And now 156 supply to 199. But again, the middle of the map can't really be broken. A little bit of friendly advice coming out from Gen. Maybe not so friendly, but important nonetheless. We do see he immediately starts that infantry armor. The armory of his own on the way as well, just to try and get out some of those upgrades and try and keep up. But we do 3-3 on the mech. It's 3-0, soon to be 3-1 on the air units. In a fantastic position. Now trying to catch those tanks on siege, it's not going to work. All these Hellions taking a lot of damage, and Kazi forced to pull back. He will be able to take down all of these Hellions, but they are trading very, very well. And now we see the Viking fleet still flying over. More siege tanks up here. Siege tanks still very nicely through the middle of the map, Gen. And yeah, I'm not sure exactly what Kazi can do right now. He's had trouble already taking this top base. He's starting to run low on SCVs, in all honesty. Now finally moving them from natural. There's where all the SCVs were. Ha ha ha. But he'll need a third base. He needs a fourth base. He needs a fifth. We see Gen actually taking what would traditionally be his opponent's base down here. This player does tend to take this base over here, whereas this player will take the top base. We see Hellions running around, still checking for more and more bases. Kazi not really using his bank to the best of his ability, but he's adding on more and more production, adding on 6 more barracks as well as 3 more starports. He needs medevacs really badly. He needs bio upgrades. He needs basically everything right now to try and combat this. Gen finally moving out his full siege tank force, and the choking will commence very shortly. This isn't the spread of siege tanks. He's not going to be afraid of any drops, as any medevac that comes in would immediately be shot down. But there's a nice scan by Kazi, making sure there's nothing up there. The real cheeky move to do would be to get a couple of Banshees by Kazi and try and take them out that way. Battle cruisers are another choice, although they're not horribly good against Vikings, especially Vikings. Battle cruisers are actually being added on by Gen. Perfect. Perfect. Kazi's still trying to make Viking. I'm not sure what use these Vikings are to him anymore, as he's completely lost ground control. The thing that he could do is get a couple of Thors, and there's all of the upgrades being added in. Gen's completely rearranged his base now, going into Sky Terran, adding in Hunter-Seeker missile, adding in durable materials, adding in Corvid reactor for Ravens. So soon we'll see Raven battlecruiser if he's able to deal with this army. Meanwhile, Kazi's staying basically on bio. He doesn't have any medevacs. He's got enough siege tanks that his opponent can't really push in here. These Hellions could just run in and roast all these SCVs, but he may be waiting for a little bit more desperation from his opponent. But there we go, the Hellions trying to move in. They will roast that siege tank very carefully. 3-3 Hellions are really good against upgraded siege tanks. Now roasting more SCVs. Those all go in just a blink of an eye. So up to 48 workers killed now. No response as of yet for Gen. In comes a lot of the bio. This is all actually probably going to get roasted, although he's targeting down the Marauder in the front. If he targeted some of these Marines in the middle, that would have been fantastic. We do see them move in toward this planetary by Kazi, trying to make something happen. He needs to target down these SCVs. Now he can finally start working on the planetary. Planetary already with 19 kills, now 23, 24, but it will eventually fall. Gen actually sacrificing a lot of supply in those Hellions. This bio is still alive. He can move down toward this base, and this is pretty unguarded. This could do quite a bit of damage from Kazi, and I like this choice. Again, the Viking siege tank fleet is still in order. Now taking down a couple of SCVs in return. Now we're down to 49 workers killed to 33. And Kazi's starting to make something happen. His upgrades are what's killing him, though. 1-1 on this bio compared to 3-3 mech and 3-2 air units is just not going to happen at any point. Gen now starting to close the pincer, moving up toward this basic area in the bottom. Kazi mined out, basically. He's mining from this base with so many SCVs, he's actually not taking gas there, which is kind of weird. His barracks starting now to be shelled. 3 battle cruisers on the way, as well as building armor from Gen. And now adding on Behemoth Reactor, as well as, I imagine we'll see the weapon refit as well. Kazi going to try to fly over. He can actually land these Vikings here and maybe pick off a couple of the siege tanks, or catch a free Viking. That Viking did a lot of damage. Wow. Again, this is all upgrades right now. Kazi would be in an okay position if he had 3-3 on his bio. If he had any, probably plating upgrades on a siege tank is more what he needs than the weapons upgrades. But yeah, that's really just the tail of this game. In comes the Viking fleet. That's just going to dispatch of the small Viking count of Kazi, and even the siege tanks able to take down the rest of the Vikings. And now Gen in a good spot. He's starting to close his pincer from this side, starting to close from this side, and now Kazi finally going to take this top base and try and get some mining going. Battlecruisers in the middle of the map. I'm not sure there's enough bio here actually to deal with these 2 battlecruisers. Weapon refit on the way. It's the Yamato cannon. It should just be called the Yamato cannon upgrade. Seriously. Now the battlecruiser is starting to take down the siege tank count of his opponent and start to push in toward these planetary fortresses that he hasn't been able to break all game. Everything's stimming up. If he just had those siege tanks sieged up, I think that would have been the end of the game. As it is, this looks like it anyway. Stim in, siege tanks evaporate, all the bio units. Now the battle reigns supreme in the sky, and yeah, only a handful of Marines left to try and defend against 3-3-2 battle cruisers. Planetaries going down, siege tanks even coming in. This is kind of the last-ditch effort to stim in and kill these siege tanks. It's just not going to happen now. Oh, those evaporate things so quickly. The Viking fleet's still intact, 199 supply down to 90, and Gen looks like he's taking this game. We could have said that quite a while ago, but now it's certain planetary goes down and getting in toward the production of his opponent. If we look at the bank now, 8,000, 2,000, spare hundreds. GG from NiNKasi, and Gen takes game number 2. Not nearly as crazy as game number 1. I really enjoyed game number 1. You should go back and watch that. I feel like I did a pretty good cast of it as well. So yeah, that's gonna do it basically. The 71 supply is mostly SCVs at this point. And that'll do it. Gen takes the series 2-0, and just to bring the points back. So it's a 4-4 points week, but a 4-3 win for Guns and Roaches. So Anarchy comes out with 0 map score, but they do come out with the loss. They'll fall to 1-3. Guns and Roaches improves to 2-2. So let's take a look at the... Actually, we'll go to the Anarchy win. And we'll go to the game recap. First 3 sets all went to Guns and Roaches. Robert Kopp with a very nicely played bronze level game. AIM, Maestro XC, and Kdarin all doing their job, dispatching of their Anarchy opponents. That gave the Guns and Roaches a 4-0 lead in the set, and kind of ruined a lot of the drama of the set, unfortunately. As that did clinch the win for them, and but then Anarchy fighting back, HTO Alessandro taking the game over Yellow Flash, Lesser dispatching of Rock and Anakin, and then Gen dispatching of Kazi in a pretty crazy TVT series. Game 1 was ridiculous. Game 2 a little bit boring. I recommend going back and watching Game 1. I'm going to call that Game of the Match. I've never done that before, so that's kind of exciting. So that'll do it. Next cast will be Composite versus the Killer Pikachus. That should be a lot of fun, so please watch that. And that'll conclude our Week 4 cast, will be that series. And then we'll move on to Week number 5. So yeah, thank you for watching. My name is Meristematic. If you enjoyed the cast, please follow me on Twitch TV. That's right below you. All the casts will be uploaded to YouTube eventually. That's youtube.com/MeristematicSC. Email any feedback you have to meristematic.sc@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter @meristematic.sc. So the only thing with Meristematic in it, just Meristematic, is my Twitch channel, unfortunately. So yeah, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the cast. You can leave me feedback to it in CTL. That one should be a little bit more obvious to find. Thanks again. I'll see you all next week. Oops.